Good morning. So I am about to head over to my local bookstore because I ordered a couple of books to there like last week and they are ready to be collected and I want to go before it starts raining. So let's head over there now and pick those up. I am trying to order more locally when they have them available. They don't always have the books that I want available to order there, but when they do, I'm going to try and order them more locally, and this is the first time I'm doing it, so I'm excited to go and pick those up now and just support a local bookstore. Okay, so I am back now and they only had one of the books that I ordered. I think the other one is going to arrive in like a week or two. But okay, so I did get some snacks because I've been loving these. And then the actual book itself, I got Lady of Darkness. I have been hearing so much about this and the cover is so gorgeous. Now, I'm not going to be reading this in this video or probably anytime soon because there are so many books on my physical TBR cart, which you can see right there. And I need to get through at least some of those before I pick up a new book that I bought. So, but this is definitely one that I've been looking forward to reading for a while and I've been wanting to read it. And I think there are 4 books in the series. I really don't know if it's completed or not, but or anything like that. And I don't know much about it, but I remember hearing about it a few times and I liked what I heard. And there were good reviews on it. So I ordered this. And they also gave me a bookmark. I've never seen a bookmark like this before. Nearly dropped it. Are those scorpions? And then on the back, I guess it's promoting like, oh, you can't see that. How can you? It's promoting a book or like a series, which I have not heard of before. But yeah, so that's what I got. Now, I am actually going to start reading. Let me get the book. I am going to start reading The Night and the Moth. This is by Rachel Gillig. Now, if you don't know who Rachel Gillig is, she is the author of one of my favorite series. It's a duology called The Shepherd King duology. The first book is, wait, I have those as well. The first book is One Dark Window, which you can see I have annotated this so much. And the second book is Two Twisted Crowns, which I do want to annotate at some point. I just haven't got around to it. But I loved this duology. I love this duology. It's a dark gothic fantasy with like a romance subplot. It was so much fun. These were the first books that got me back into reading like last autumn time when I was struggling. I wanted to get back into reading fiction, but I had kind of forgotten what genres I enjoyed, and it was reading this duology that reminded me that I love fantasy and I really enjoy gothic fantasy. So same author as those wrote The Night and the Moth, and this is the first book, and I believe this is also going to be a duology and it's a separate world, but I'm so excited to read this. It actually came out a couple of weeks ago, but I wasn't in the mood to read it then, but I am now, so I will be starting this in this video at some point. I think that's all I have to say. Oh, actually, I got the Waterstones edition, which has this gorgeous sprayed edge, which I absolutely love, and I think it's the first book that I have that has a sprayed edge, so that is fun. Hello, it is in fact the next day now, and I did not start this yesterday, but I will be starting it today. And firstly, even though the cover is gorgeous, we do need to take the dust jacket off. I do wish we had a bit more of a design on the hardcover because I think the American edition does, but we don't. This is also the Waterstones edition, so we've got this gorgeous sprayed edge, but let's just get started. So I actually started a course on Skillshare in order to learn more of the foundational skills of drawing. Now, if you're new here, then first of all, welcome. And secondly, you may not know that I have liked drawing for a very long time. However, I would often find myself starting and then stopping just because I would get frustrated with the fact that my skills perhaps weren't progressing in the way that I wanted to, and also that I wouldn't really know how to improve. So I thought it would be a good idea to actually take a course. I did look for a few that were in person, but they always fell at times that were just difficult for me to make, or even on days where I couldn't make it either. So I looked for online courses instead and found a few on Skillshare. And I started this course, which I'm currently doing, which basically gives you the foundational skills of drawing. And this started with things such as holding your pencil with a different grip and just very foundational aspects of like early stages of drawing, including getting used to freehand drawing, learning to draw shapes with a lighter touch, and just becoming much more confident and comfortable with that. And then also taking this a bit further with seeing a figure and understanding how to piece that together with different shapes. And of course, a lot of practice with this. The lessons that I've done so far, I've really, really enjoyed because it feels like not only am I improving, but I just like having kind of a step by step process that I can follow where I'm not just kind of making it up on my own, but it actually feels like I'm moving and just slowly improving and really getting to understand the foundational aspects, which I felt like I was really lacking. So I've really been enjoying this course so far. Hello. So I have in fact done like 3 or 4 of the lessons from the Skillshare course, and there are about 13 in total, and they have been so good so far for a few different reasons. Firstly, it's been really nice to have a guide to kind of follow off of. Otherwise, I was really struggling and kind of going round in circles, unsure of why my drawings weren't so good. I wasn't really sure of what skills I needed to work on and improve upon. I didn't really know what exercises I should keep up with and I should focus on because I really didn't understand the basics and the foundational aspects of drawing. And so this course has been really good for that. And it's given kind of like the basic level understanding of drawing and like especially with different shapes and just getting more comfortable with freehand drawing and how to take apart different objects into shapes and just learn the basis of drawing essentially, and it's been really really good. So I have been doing like a lot of practice. I started off with I started off from the very beginning of the course and just doing a lot of practice. I don't know if you can see that, but it's a lot of like getting used to basically holding the grip of your pencil and like freehand drawings, the type of grip that we were talking about, and just getting used to more of a fluid motion in terms of drawing rather than a rigid one. So, doing a lot of practice with that. And something else that I've really enjoyed about this course is that at the end of each lesson, the instructor gives like an exercise that you could do and practice on to develop your skills. And I really love that these exercises are things that I can continuously fall back on, and throughout my journey as an artist these are exercises that I can always do and continue to learn and improve on. And it's not something that I will only do just now, which is something that I didn't realize how much I was missing and how much I needed to just have these practices that I can continuously fall back on when I am struggling or when I feel like I just want to do some exercises to work on. So I'm really really enjoying that. I want to do a few more of the lessons, and then something I've realized is I currently am using graphite pencils. However, I do like to draw with pen. And so I want to practice using pens. Another thing I want to do is actually start using different colored pencils just because I think it will bring some vibrancy to what I'm drawing. At the moment, it kind of feels a bit bland because it's the same thing over and over again with in terms of like it's just graphite pencils and I want to bring some vividness to it. So I am hoping to practice with those at some point, but I'm really enjoying the course so far. And then in terms of the Night in the Moth, I am like just over a third of the way through. I'm really enjoying it. I actually used my Audible credit to get the audiobook of The Night in the Moth, and I've been listening to it whilst I've been doing the practice exercises for the Skillshare course, and that's been really fun to kind of combine my two hobbies together. The only time I've ever listened to an audiobook whilst drawing is if I'm drawing something that is related to the book I'm listening to. I've never done it where I'm just practicing and I've got a book going on in the background, but I really love that because I often find myself trying to decide between reading or drawing, and this way I can combine both of my like favorite hobbies together. And that was just a really enjoyable way to get some more practice in whilst also listening to a book that I've been wanting to read. So I've really been enjoying that. Hello, so it is a little bit later on in the day, and I actually have done a bit more practice in terms of the Skillshare course. So some of the lessons that I've done have been looking specifically at learning how to take apart a subject and put it together using different shapes and just getting a lot more comfortable with that. And the instructor highlighted that a good way to practice this is through birds. So I essentially searched up some images on Pinterest of birds and I've just been like practicing it. So they're very like basic. This is the first time I'm doing it, but it's just like picking apart the different shapes of a bird and piecing them together to kind of give an outline of what we're looking at. I've actually really enjoyed this exercise, and it's something that I definitely want to do more often with other subjects. And I think it's a great way to practice. And I also think that it's given me something that I can rely on when I am struggling with something, and it's just a good way to kind of start off a sketch because now I know where to start, if that makes sense, which I definitely think I was struggling with before, where I would try and do kind of an outline but it wasn't very accurate, or it was very random and I didn't really know where to pick up with. And this has definitely been teaching me that. Another thing is, as I mentioned earlier today, I wanted to draw with pens and colored pencils. So I have been drawing, like with this I used just a normal pen, which was quite fun. So I definitely want to do that more often because I just enjoy it, and I am hoping to try and use color pencils in the next few days. But I'm really loving that, so I'm hoping to keep up this course. And I also saw quite a few other courses that I've like saved. Now, one thing that I know I need to make sure I do is balance between these courses and also just practicing, because I don't want it to become like a pressure to, or like a chore to complete these courses at like too quickly. I want to make sure that I'm doing it at a time where I have not only the time but also the energy, and I want to do it rather than forcing myself to do it. So I'm definitely going to have to maintain that balance because it's something that I often struggle with. But that's where we are today. Hello, so it's been a couple of days. The first thing that I want to do today is, I mentioned before that I want to practice drawing using colored pencils. Now, I don't know if I want to do a new lesson in Skillshare and do colored pencils with that, or if I want to do the previous exercises again using colored pencils. I think that's what I want to do. I'm not sure if I want to do another lesson today. So that is one of the things that I want to do. The second thing is I want to finish The Night and the Moth. I'm on chapter 26, I think it is. So less than 100 pages left, and I have been really enjoying it, especially with the audio. I love an audiobook. And there is this character which is a gargoyle in this book, and it's so funny. So I'm loving that like humorous aspect of this book. Another thing that I'm really loving is going on this quest to collect these objects, and when our main characters are collecting these objects, they have to go up against these like evil characters essentially. I'm trying to say this without any spoilers. And when they go up against these evil characters, those scenes are just so fun, and I don't know why. I think because they really bring to life the like gothic atmosphere, and it just really grips me for some reason. So I'm really enjoying those scenes in particular, but I'm really enjoying the story as well. I will give my like full thoughts on the book once I finished it, which should hopefully be today. But that is where I've gotten to at the moment. did in fact do some drawings using my coloring pencils. I actually have this collection of a bunch of sets of pencils that I have just bought years ago, and I just popped them into one box. So this is my entire collection of all the pencils, the coloring pencils that I have, and there are loads in here. Now, because I haven't used it in so many years, it took me a while to find it. They were kind of on a random shelf in a random cupboard. Now that I have them, I'm going to make them a bit more accessible because I want to use them more often. I did enjoy those. I didn't do any new lessons on the course. I just repeated the previous exercises using the coloring pencils. And I enjoyed this for a couple of reasons. First of all, getting more practice in and using a different media was nice to do. And secondly, it added some color and a bit more vibrancy to my sketchbook. I have been using graphite pencils a lot recently, especially as I'm practicing a bit more often and just trying to improve my skills and foundational skills specifically. And I personally like a bit more color in my drawings and a bit more of that vibrancy. And so these coloring pencils have allowed me to do that without having to use any paints or anything. So I really enjoyed that. And I'm going to be using these more often just to have another media to use, add a bit of color, and to get a lot more practice with it. So I did enjoy that. And now I'm actually going to finish reading The Night and the Moth. Hello, so it is the next day, and I have in fact finished reading The Night and the Moth. I ended up giving this a 3.5-star rating. I did enjoy it, especially the things that I've mentioned in terms of the humor and kind of the quests that were happening. I also really enjoyed listening to this as an audiobook. I think I like audios anyway, so that definitely helped me become more immersed in the world and just helped me read it a little bit. The reason it isn't bumped up a bit more is just because whilst there were certain aspects of it that did grip me, as a whole it didn't. And especially with some of the characters, it just felt like there wasn't as much depth, or at least I didn't feel as connected to it as I thought I would, which is why the rating isn't any higher. That being said, I still think 3.5 stars is a good rating. Like, I did enjoy it and I would still recommend it because I personally love gothic fantasies, and this definitely has that atmosphere in there. It's also a really new concept to me in terms of what was involved in this story. It was very new to me. So I really enjoyed that as well. And I actually liked the ending too. Whilst I did kind of guess it just because of hints that were thrown to us previously, I still enjoyed the ending. And I will be reading the second book because I think this is a duology. I don't think it's going to be a longer series than that, which is great because I love duologies. So I did enjoy it, and it was a 3.5-star rating. And I do look forward to the second book, and I will probably also listen to that as an audio as well, just because I found myself a bit more gripped by it when I was listening to it as an audio rather than reading the physical book. That is just a personal preference though. So yeah, that is how I felt about The Night and the Moth, and I'm glad I finally read it because I've been looking forward to this for ages because, like I mentioned before, Rachel Gillig is an auto-buy author for me. So yeah, that's how I felt about this. Then in terms of my drawing, I am so proud of myself for not only starting a Skillshare course or a course in general, but for doing it in a way that fits in and doesn't feel overwhelming or stressful. I am still learning to find the balance between learning and practicing and actually creating. I do believe that I am currently in a phase of learning and practicing and just developing my skills a bit more before I move to more of a creation space. That being said, I don't want to put too much pressure on only doing courses and only practicing and not feeling like I'm good enough to try and create and just give it a go and see what happens. So this is something that I am going to be working on in terms of balancing between the two. But I really enjoyed this course. I think it was great to give me a guide, to give me a bit of a boost and feel like, okay, there are resources that I can rely on, that I can use to improve and to improve in an enjoyable way, and to be able to do a lesson and do the exercises with it and have those as something that I can continuously do in order to improve. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it. This course that I'm doing, I'm only about halfway through, so I've still got half of the lessons left, which I think will go into a bit more detail and a bit more drawing actual pieces, which will be really fun, and I'm looking forward to that. Also, this is actually the course that I'm doing is actually part one, so I think there are a few other parts to it that I have saved as well, and I will do at some point too. But I really enjoyed that, and I'm proud of the fact that I'm making the time and space to draw and learn a bit more often and to have it as a bit more of a habit. Part of this is actually, I think, listening to audiobooks and drawing, because it combines two of my favorite hobbies in one. And before, I think I would struggle with choosing one over the other, because then I feel like I'm missing out on one of them. So this really helped with combining the two of them together. So that was really fun and definitely a great way for me to practice without feeling like I'm missing out on reading. So I really enjoyed that, and I'm looking forward to continuing with not only Skillshare courses, but hopefully some in-person ones too, if I can find ones that fit in terms of the day and the time that works for me. So I do hope to do that as well. But I am glad that I'm doing this one kind of online, just because it is the very foundational skills. And I feel like I want to have some type of confidence before I do more in-person ones. That is just a personal preference for me, that I want to have a bit more confidence before I do that. But yeah, other than that, it's been really good. I've really enjoyed it. And that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.